when I got my first initiation, I got to Prabhupada and he asked me for the 4 regulative principles and everything. And I think it's Pradyumna who had the list of the names for the new devotees. And he gave some name to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada looked at me and he said, no. I went, he doesn't want to initiate me. I froze there for, a length of time, which for me it was an eternity. And then he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, Vishnurata, Prabhu. And then everybody went, Haribol. He said, one was always protected by Vishnu. I later learned that it was the name of Pariksit Maharaj. And so that was quite an experience. Being close to Prabhupada on my second initiation too. And then the other occasions I had to be with Prabhupada, was finding him, going to lectures, morning walks in Paris. I didn't ask any question. I was kind of shy to ask questions during the morning walks. I have pictures of Prabhupada looking at me and talking to me during the morning walks, and I don't remember what he said. But in Vrindavan, I was with him for several days, and we had many morning walks on which Prabhupada was, telling about the plants. This can cure this can cure that, and he was talking about the lands that were not used properly by some of his god brothers, and some business that was going on in Vrindavan and everything else. Well, I was about to translate the Isopanishad in French, and we had some meeting with Bhagavan, Yogeshwar, and Vishwambar, and I think Janardari was there at that time too, because, we found that there was some discrepancies in the English, that it was not flowing, that there was some choice of words which were not quite appropriate. The sentences were not always linked properly. So since translation always involves some kind of rewriting in some way or another, Bhagavan decided to ask Prabhupada if we could edit the contents of the Isopanishad to make it more relevant, to make it more to the point, to give him more credit for that book, because the content was very rich. And Prabhupada said, yes, you have my blessing. You just edited the way you think is best in French, and you have my approval. And that's what we did. We edited the English, and then I translated from that edited version that was discussed between all the senior devotees. And then the French version was also reviewed by all the senior devotees, and everything was satisfied with the result. And a similar thing happened with the first canto of the Bhagavatam, because some passages, when we translate, we try to go to as many sources as possible. And I noticed that in Prabhupada's Indian edition of the Bhagavatam, there was many discrepancies with the printed English edition from LA. And then I noticed that some sentences were missing, some paragraphs were missing, and some things were said differently. So we prepared a whole dossier, then we couldn't present it to Prabhupada at that time. He said, just go to Rameshwar and explain him what the situation is. So I went to LA with Avyaya, the Prabhu at that time, and Rameshwar said, we can't do anything about that. We have to leave the English as it is. But he said, you do what you have to do in French. So some people have noticed over the years that sometimes the French does not reflect the English, but that's because the French has been made, the translation has been done, taking into account also the Indian edition, which was the original Bhagavatam written by Prabhupada himself.